Welcome to Call Before Showing, a podcast where we help real estate pros navigate the emotional ups and downs of the real estate business
and hear the stories of real people who buckle in and ride the roller coaster with us.
Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome to the Call Before Showing podcast. This is Alex Eldridge, and I'm here with Alison McPherson. Hey Alison, how's it going?
Hey girl, hey, great.
Today we're going to be talking about getting organized, how we get organized, how we stay organized, what our system looks like, and how to not be buried alive under a mountain of paperwork. Am I right?
Yeah, aka how to get your shit together.
That's right. So, how organized are you, Alison?
Okay, so from the outside looking in, people would look at me and think that I am a super organized person because I carry around my planner. I use a paper planner, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But I walk around with my planner. I try my best to put out the facade that I am organized, but I inherently am not super organized. I buy my pretty planner to almost force me to be a little bit more organized and a little bit more control of my schedule. So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I am a 7.
Okay.
I'm a 7 when it comes to my daily activities and stuff like that. But when it comes to like file management and stuff like that, I would say I have a little bit more work to do, and I would say probably a 5.
Okay. I think that Einstein had a really messy desk. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people say a messy desk is a sign that like you have a lot going on. Some people will even go as far as to say a messy desk is a sign of a successful person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
I don't. Because I just think everybody manages their things in a certain way. And so some people like feel more in control when their desk is cleaner. But then I don't know, like I'm the person who tries to clean my desk before I leave, or I try to clean my desk before I get started on work during a day, because the more cluttered my desk is, the more I feel like I jump from thing to thing. I'm a person that like if I see something that looks more fun, I'm going to do the more fun thing.
Are you distracted by shiny objects?
100%. That's why I feel like I'm not that organized, because a lot of times I feel like, okay, I'm going to tackle the day. I'm going to do everything on my to-do list. And then all of a sudden somebody is like, hey, Allison, do you want to do this other thing that is a little bit more fun than the things that you were going to tackle? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. I want to do that. So I feel like I am like a butterfly that like
Flutter off to whatever seems interesting at the time.
right. And so that's why in like file management and things like that, I rely on other people to do it for me or with me, because if I can not do paperwork, I will not be doing paperwork. Like if there is any other excuse on the face of the earth to not do paperwork, that is what I will be doing instead.
Where do you think that there is room for improvement?
I think for me, like if I implemented everything that I wrote down for myself in my day planner and just did that first, that would be a huge improvement.
So like in the order that you have it.
Yeah. Or just like not get distracted by other things that are more fun. How organized do you think you are?
When it comes to business, I'm way more organized than I am in my personal life. And I think it's because I have that same problem where I jump around to different things. If I decide to clean my house, I will put away a few things in one room and go to another room and vacuum a little bit and go to another room and, get distracted and start working on some project that's so unnecessary to be working on in the moment. I think that with business, I'm able to focus a little bit more, but I do still have those tendencies. I am all about to-do lists. That's what keeps me grounded, is a list. If I feel really overwhelmed or stressed, I just sit down and make a list, and by the time I'm done, I feel better. I don't necessarily do things in a particular order, but I do love to cross off a task. I also have an app that helps me a lot with that, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I would say that I'm probably a 5. And as far as paperwork goes, I don't mind it. I really don't mind the paperwork. I guess I have trouble more with scheduling things. I have to really set all of those reminders. As soon as I have a ratified contract, I have to sit down and go through my phone and set a bunch of reminders so that I know to do certain things because that's what I have trouble with. And I think that that's where a transaction coordinator would probably be really helpful and would be a great asset for me, which is something that I'll definitely consider once I get a little bit busier.
I recently hired a transaction coordinator to handle the paperwork side of things and the filing and things like that. And oh my gosh, it just like frees up my mind so much because I have to like force myself to do those things. And so to be able to almost like free myself of that worry and that, I mean, I still like have reminders of things that I need to follow up on and things like that. I write all of those in my planner, but just having somebody else also checking behind me to make sure like, okay, you missed an initial there or the other side missed an initial there and like we need to make sure we get that, then I'm not sitting there like stressed out about those things and I can stress out about other things that I enjoy more than doing the paperwork, you know?
Totally. I had an assistant slash transaction coordinator for maybe like 3 months before I moved up here. And it was so nice because it was just really nice to delegate the parts that you know are not your strong points to someone else so that you can focus on the part that like makes you better. I think that I was so productive. I started, giving a lot back to my past clients and to my sphere and being able to do a lot of things wholeheartedly because I wasn't stressing out about trying to collect and figure out and organize the parts that I wasn't so great at.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
So, how do you feel about, because I know that there's some people like West does not like to write things down, like physically write things down. He keeps everything in his Google Calendar or iCal or whatever, but there's some people that need to write everything down.
Yeah, I'm very much I need to write it down person. I think I retain things better when I write them down. So I have a paper planner that I use that I have used for 3 years. It's the same planner every year.
What is it?
It's a system that just works for me. It's called the Emily Lay Simplified Planner, and it's a daily planner that every single day has its own page. So on one half of the page, it's got the hours so that you can write down appointments and things like that. And then on the right hand side of the page, it has a to-do list, just like a blank to-do list. And then at the bottom, it has a section for notes. So for me, I've committed that everything goes into that. My tasks and things that need to get done get put in my planner because I know that everything is there. I can go back and look at it and things like that. It's one of those things that I'm never going to give that up. Like people are like, "Oh, you can use your calendar on your phone and set reminders and things like that." And that just like it stresses me out because I can see it if I want to, but I can't like flip through the pages. Is that weird? Oh my gosh, it's weird.
I love to be able to write down lists, but for me, I stopped keeping a paper calendar because I didn't have access to it all the time. If I was out doing whatever thing and I got a text for an appointment or an email or something, for instance, the other day, I took Eddie for his 1 year checkup at the pediatrician and they were like, okay, do you want to schedule the new appointment now? I didn't have my planner with me. And so I would have completely forgotten to put that in because it's for months away, And so I just go ahead and put it in my iCal.
Right.
Do you not have that problem?
I pretty much always have my planner with me or in the vicinity of me. So, like, if I am out to dinner or something like that, it's probably in my car. And if it's not in my car, like if we drove my husband's car or something like that, I usually respond back to whoever it is and I say, "Hey, I'm not near my planner. Can I touch base with you when I'm back to my planner?" And so, I mean, that's kind of what I do. Also, if it's like something a month in advance, typically, I'm not scheduled out so far out that I can't like move things around to make it work. One of my things is like I have forced self care. So I signed up for like massage membership that like every single month I go and get a massage. Leaving, they do that same thing. They say like, "Hey, can you come blah 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 day?" And I always say yes. And then I do put that in like a notes thing in my phone, and then once I get back to my planner, I write it down in my planner, so it's something that is a non-negotiable, right? Like that is already in there. And so if somebody else calls me and is like, "Hey, can we do something at this time on this day?" Then I say, "No, I have an appointment. Let's do it on this other day," or whatever. That's kind of the way that I handle it.
Yeah.
And like, I've just made this commitment, like, this is my thing, right? And I think it needs to be that way for whatever, if you are digital or if you're a paper person, you just have to decide which one it is and like wholeheartedly jump into that. Otherwise, it's never going to work. I know some people do both. Like they put it into their digital planner and then they like write it into their paper planner later on. Like it's just too much for me.
I feel like I would end up double booking something or, getting like all messed up
Yeah.
if I did that.
You choose your one and then you just like wholeheartedly jump into it, then you'll be fine. And so mine is paper and people totally judge me, and they're always like, look at you walking around with your planner. I'm like, heck yeah, because this is like my life. Like if I lost my planner.
Well, that's probably another reason why people would say digital because it's in the cloud. I'm not disagreeing with like anything that you're doing. I think that it's really great. And if I were more disciplined about keeping my planner around me all of the time, I would definitely do that. And I used to have a planner like yours and I loved it. I feel like it made me more productive. I feel like it really was an investment to my business because I wanted to fill up that beautiful planner with appointments. And so I would go out of my way to really try and do that. But now I just rely on a bullet journal. For those of you that may not know what a bullet journal is, it's just a blank journal. It has little dots on it so that you can, if you want to create lines, you can. If you want to create your own little schedule, you can. And I do a schedule in there. Each week I write out like just on one page, just a quick, each day of the week and a little bit of what's going on then. But I usually just do a daily to-do list. So in the morning I get up, I get ready, and then I open up my planner and I have a personal to-do list on one side, and on the other side I have my professional to-do list. Without that, I would not get anything done.
So you put all of your like appointments, showing appointments, like, or just like time block in your digital calendar. And then you put your to-do list on paper.
Basically, I mean, for showings, I have Showing Time, the Showing Time app, if I'm going to be taking a buyer out. I use that typically because that's how most showings get scheduled up here. But for appointments, trainings, anything like that, it's always going to be in my phone calendar. Just because I don't reflect back on it that often. Like in my bullet journal, I don't look back on that often to keep me in check.
Yeah.
And I only do it like once a week that I write out a little bit. And that's usually to try and figure out what days I can, when I'm doing like my meal planning, like, okay, what day am I going to be out of the house all day? So I need to be able to like cook something really easy that day and that kind of a thing. So what you'll find in my bullet journal is tons of lists, to-do lists, lists for the podcast, for business ideas. And then I have meal planning every week, which I can show you what that looks like because I know that's something you want to get a little bit better at.
Yeah.
Then every once in a while, I will put in like something new. I don't know, if you go on Pinterest and you look up bullet journals, like some people get really into it and like have these beautiful pages of like charts and graphs and like activity tracker and like even down to like how much water you've been drinking all month and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those and they're like beautiful, but I'm like, oh man, mine wouldn't look that pretty.
When I started with a bullet journal, that was my goal. I would sit down on an evening when like West and I are just watching something on the TV. I would sketch out my like month and I would put a little calendar for how many times I worked out during the month. I even did like a mood tracker once. Did not keep that up at all. The last thing you want to do when you're in a bad mood is go grab your bullet journal and write down, I'm in a bad mood today.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, some people are probably better at that. I know that people keep like food journals and all of that, but for me, what works for me is just to-do lists, meal planning, and that's how I get the most done.
That's awesome.
What about in your office? What do you do with files?
So I have a transaction coordinator, like I said earlier. So we have a shared Dropbox folder that has each of my different transactions laid out. And so everything just gets saved in there. I'm a paper person. So I have files that I use to keep the big things. So like the buyer broker agreement, the purchase agreement, like the home inspection report and what we asked for on the home inspection to get taken care of, just so that when I go to the house for like the final walkthrough and things like that, then I have all of it in one place if they have any questions or anything like that. I just print out the really important stuff. I don't print out emails back and forth or anything like that, but just the important things that are needed for the final walkthrough. And other than that, it's all digital, it's all in Dropbox.
I don't know if you remember me and Sherry having this debate, but that was our biggest thing. So Sherry was my partner. We were on a team together, and she was my mentor, and she's awesome. But the biggest arguments that we would have were digital versus paper. And I didn't see a need to print everything out and keep it in a file because it's all being stored, on my computer and in whatever system the company used to like upload
Mhm.
files into. So whenever I would go out of town and she was watching my business, she would make me print out every file for the current transactions that like she was keeping an eye on, and it was so annoying. But she was also really organized, but like her office is full of files, and I was like, you don't need all
Yeah.
of this.
And my thing is like I just always want to feel really put together when my clients are in front of me. And so I don't ever want to like get to a final walkthrough and have them be like, what did we ask for on the, repair requests again? I always just want to be able to like flip to where I always put it in my file, like I always put things in the same place so I know exactly where it is.
I can see why you would want to do that. I mean, just listening to you say that, it makes me want to do it. It sounds so organized, and it sounds like you're probably so just prepared all the time.
I just don't want to be like, "Oh my gosh, let me pull this up in my phone," and then have to, like, go into whatever place it's stored in and search for it and whatever. Like, I would just rather be like, "Oh, we asked for this.
Yeah.
Here it is on my piece of
Yeah.
paper." And so I'm sure some people will be like, "Oh gosh, Allison is the worst person on the face of the earth for the environment."
Just cutting down all of the trees.
Yeah, but, like, it's one of those things that, like, at the end of the day, I want to be as prepared as I can be for my clients, and if that is my way of doing it, then it's the way that I do it. Like, I carry the, like, reusable grocery bags in my car, and I use those all the time, or if I don't have them with me, I carry my groceries out by hand, take 99 trips out to my car at my house.
You're an angel.
I care about the environment. I just also care about my clients. And if that's the best way I can serve them, I'm going to serve them that way.
I definitely just leave everything up there, up in the cloud. I just print out as little as possible. But that's because that is the best way for me to stay organized. I know that I am not the kind of person that is going to keep these files tidy with everything that I could ever need in them. Like you said, you're not going to go searching for a file in there. Well, that's like, for me, that's the most convenient way?
You wouldn't necessarily be carrying the file around with you. And like the difference is too that like you're working from home and I'm working from an office every day. So like I just keep my files at my office until I need them. Where like you don't really want files sitting around
Right.
like annoying you in your house.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too much a problem because we have like a designated home office. I think it's just different strokes for different folks. With the system that we have, there's no reason to ever print anything out. Everything that we do is through SkySlope. That's the system that we use. I can easily go into SkySlope, pull up the transaction, and every piece of paper that has ever been created or signed or initialed or anything by anyone, including like DocuSign, sends everything straight to
Right.
there too. So I just feel like that's great. And then I also keep a folder on my desktop because I want to know that I have like copies of things. Every once in a while, I try to clean those up. It's whatever works for you. Like I said, I don't know what I would do without my bullet journal. I find that super helpful.
Yeah. My paper things are like my security blanket, I think. And maybe just like the thing that I want to carry around so that I make it look like I'm more organized than I really am.
I think you actually are organized. Like I've seen the inside of your planner and it's very organized. Even when you cross things out, it's like beautifully crossed out.
I accept that compliment. I accept it.
Yeah, totally.
I guess the moral of the story is do what works for you. You do you, boo.
Are you a big list maker?
Yeah. Like I have them in every day of my planner. And then if I don't finish one thing in the day, I just like put a little arrow in it to go into the next day. And sometimes I rewrite it down and sometimes I just like leave it in the day before and then cross it off once it's done.
How many tasks do you typically give yourself a day?
I think in my planner, there's 25 little spots to write things down. And so I never fully fill out the entire thing unless it's things that like I need to do several different things on the same file or whatever.
There's a different styles. Like you could be like a micro list maker, which is, let's say you want to put out like every detail. So if you were going to put like laundry on your list, you would be like, put this specific laundry load in and then put it in the dryer and then fold laundry. And you know what I mean? Like versus just
Right.
writing laundry.
So it depends on the thing. So if it's for a client that like gets under contract, I go ahead and write in certain days. Like, okay, if there's a 14-day home inspection contingency, I write something at like the 7-day home inspection contingency mark that says, hey, have you written the PICRA yet? Which is the repair for request. That's what we call it here, the PICRA. I don't know if everyone else calls it that too. So at 7 days, I write something that says check in on repair requests. On 10 days, I say, have you submitted the PICRA to the other side or where are you? Right? Kind of like check-in points.
Yeah.
And then I write something on the 14th day that says like, you better have sent this. And so I break everything down like that, but I don't say like write contract, send contract. Yeah, no.
I think when I started making a lot of these daily lists, when I started with my bullet journal, I would give myself as many tasks as possible because I loved checking them off. Then I realized like it was just getting so unnecessary. And so now I try not to give myself more than 10 things, but they're like whole things that need to get done, like pay all of the bills. Or instead of like put together listing agreement and put together like listing brochures and stuff like that, it's just like prepare for listing presentation. Like I know what all of that encompasses. Ultimately, it's not going to affect my productivity.
Yeah.
It's more than likely going to make me feel overwhelmed because suddenly I've given myself 30 things to do that I could have written in 10 lines. I have an app called Wunderlist. I've been using this for years. I think I started using it when I was planning my wedding. It's just a great list making app and you can check things off and then they like disappear. And it's really satisfying to do if you're the kind of person that is much more productive when you're creating tasks and checking them off. I highly suggest that app because it's what I use for when I go to the grocery store, when I don't have my bullet journal next to me, but I have to remember a bunch of things that I need to do. I also like to use it for if I'm traveling and I have an early flight, I make a list of like, don't forget to put these last minute things in your bag before leaving. I find that super handy and has gotten me like out of possible like sticky situations because otherwise I would have forgotten.
I have used that before, but then I got a new phone and I didn't download it again, but I should because I like that app.
You can also share the list. So if I'm planning a party with my sister and let's say we're making the guest list or the food list or whatever, I can add her to the list so we can both add to it and manipulate it.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. Don't forget to follow us. Where can the fine people follow us, Allison?
I say this every episode. Alex, one day you're going to remember at Call Before Showing on everything.
Everything.
Instagram,
Facebook. Go follow all of those things.
Tell us if you're a paper person or a digital person.
Let's put a poll on like Insta stories or something.
Yeah, we'll put it on both Facebook and Instagram.
Also, if you guys know of any like great apps for organization or just any like awesome strategies or systems that you use, please tell us because we want to grow and be more organized and be better.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you later.
Bye.